Hi everyone, my name is Xochil Herrera Scheer, and my company is called the Chicago Powdermaker. And obviously from the title of the company, you know that I do pattern making. My job really entails working with designers and entrepreneurs to help them take a design from like a sketch or concept all the way through product development, testing, and then getting them ready to manufacture at a factory. I've had this company for 10 years this year, and prior to that I worked for a small boutique. Prior to that I went to college for fashion design, and really prior to that I was sewing kind of like you are in high school. So I'll talk a little bit more about just being a pattern maker in general and my company. So there's a ton of people who want to be designers, not a ton of people who have like the technical skill set to support those designers. So I've found in my experience and after talking to different people throughout the years and meeting different people around the country, being like a technical designer, a seamstress or sample maker or a pattern maker gives you like really good job security because there's not a lot of pattern makers out there, and many people in our industry are like aging out and retiring, and there's not a lot of young people who are taking over in that skills area. So I have found I'm still one of the youngest. I'm not, in my 20s anymore, but I'm still one of the younger pattern makers around. So yeah, we definitely need people to like pass on the skills and continue this, momentum. A lot of people as a pattern maker ask me like, oh, do you want to be a designer? Do you want to sell your own line? I've actually found, in the beginning, like when I went to school, that's kind of what I thought I wanted to do. But as I got to know pattern making and got better at sewing, I really realized I like the process of it and not necessarily coming up with like the creative vision or the concept, so to speak. I think you still get to be really creative, taking someone else's idea and helping make it work. For example, if they want to make, a functional item. I'll pull something that I have here. So some of my clients do kind of functional items. So this is a hoodie that's designed for like outdoor market, and they really wanted to incorporate different like functional elements, lots of heavy duty stitching, hidden pockets inside of pockets. We have a hood, but also a collar that kind of snaps together like that. And so you wouldn't think like a hoodie necessarily as something super complicated, but because there's so many like different pattern pieces involved here, like every single piece, as you know, is a different pattern piece. We had to go through lots of rounds of like testing to make sure it fits, functions, and even like wash testing to make sure when it like shrinks that it still is fitting really well. Is warm enough for a hike, but also like moisture wicking and kind of able to keep up with an active person. So again, coming up with the idea and then also running like the marketing and production, social media, like everything that goes into like running the fashion company and running a brand is a lot of work. And not to say this is not also a lot of work, it is, but you get the job security as a pattern maker because I get paid regardless of like how many units they sell, basically. I get paid for kind of the expertise going into like each of those details and what type of snaps we're using, what type of zipper we're using, the multiple rounds of prototypes and fittings and everything else. I'll share another one that was like a highly technical one. These ones I can pass around. I worked with a mom who was trying to solve a problem with her babies. So we made these onesies and pajamas, which just look like, oh, they're cute, whatever. She actually has a patent on this design feature where it seems so simple, and sometimes the simplest things take like the longest to work out. But she has a design utility patent because you have this extra panel where she can check the diaper versus like taking off all the clothes to change a diaper or check a diaper. So this was really cool to be able to work with someone who had like this idea but wasn't really sure how to execute it, And so we tested different things, how gathered the elastic's going to be, whether it was elastic or whether it was snaps, Velcro, just different ideas on how to make this functional and also friendly for, you know, any mom, any consumer to be able to use it. And then same with the long version. And then we also have a little cuff on the bottom that folds over so you can make a little footie for the baby. So it's cool to be really like a part of, you know, someone's invention of a new feature that isn't already out there on the market. So I'll pass these around if you guys want to take a look. There's other details that aren't necessarily inventions, but are just like cool kind of branding details that we get to think through. We started like a men's workout short, and we got to do some cool things with this like heat sealed zipper, which you probably would see on like Nike or Under Armour, any of those like really big brands. This is a small brand, but they were able to find like the right factory to add that detail and like make it more of a premium look. Even like dipping the draw cords into like a silicone to seal them, adding little branding details, stuff like that. Again, this type of garment, especially with like workout clothes, and if the workout clothes are geared towards a specific market, we like to do fit tests, not just on like a fit model standing still, but I've actually done fit tests where we go to like a CrossFit gym or we go to a yoga studio or Pilates studio and test it in action so you can see when someone is working out, like how is the garment moving, not just when you're standing still, but obviously if you're gonna work out or go for a run or something, you wanna see how does this actually function in, you know, in life. Which I think is important for like any garment, but especially activewear. This is an early thing I did for a client. And she brought me really super rough sketches because she didn't really know how to draw. So the first step was really like redrawing everything to make sure we're both kind of understanding each other in terms of what she is visualizing in her head versus what I can do with the material. And you'll find a lot of people, whether they're custom clients or whether they're brands, they may not always have that artistic skill set. So it's a good thing when you can bring that to the table and help translate what's in their head and talk through like, okay, how do you envision like this V-neck? Is it gonna be fabric here? Is it gonna be just cut out? This one had a lace back, so to make sure everything, especially over here at the zipper, that this is still secure. And that it's not going to pull apart the lace or something like that. And that's not usually a detail that just any person is going to think about, but when you have a technical mindset, you're able to work through those details. How to kind of clean up the gathering, where you want your brand label to be, things like that. So it's a blazer for another client. This was a fun thing to think about too, because you can do obviously a lined blazer, you can do different details. We decided to do this kind of binding on the edge on all the inside layers, and if you look really closely, it's actually a bunny print. So that was kind of a fun thing, like even though it's kind of a straight like workwear type of look, you can still incorporate like a fun lining. We used it in the inside pocket as well. And helping clients kind of think more creatively, like how can you step up this jacket? How can you make it worth $50 more by spending, maybe $2 to $5 on additional trim, but it like elevates that look so you can get more money for it. Do you guys have questions so far on kind of process? Yes.
I have a question. The question is, do you all do tech packs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
To create what the client wants, or do they come in with a tech pack?
Most of them don't come in with a tech pack. A lot of them will come in with either a garment or a combination. They'll have like a rough sketch. They might send me a Pinterest board or just a collage of images for their mood board. They might have some measurements. They might have, usually it's like elements that they want to combine together, and they sometimes have a sketch. Sometimes it's, like I said, really rough, kind of hand drawn out and not super detailed. They may not even know like where's the zipper or things like that. But I do have other clients who are a little like further into their business, or they've had some fashion education, so they're able to put together not like a full tech pack, but like a CAD sketch that they draw in Illustrator, or some measurement specs, types of construction they want. They might send me pictures and say, I want my seam to look like this. Whether they know what machine that is or how it's sewn, they might not, but they'll be able to visually show me, you know, what kind of finish that they want on it, or a binding or something like that. So my job also is not only to draft the pattern, but also to help create that tech pack, which is really your visual and written information, construction, points of measure, your bill of materials, which is every single material that's involved in the garment, from the self body fabric, the lining, zippers, buttons, trim, what color thread that you want to use. If it's a specialty thread, like maybe it's a denim and you want like a heavier top stitch, things like that would all be in your tech pack. So I help them work through that, and that document goes to the factory when they're ready to produce it. Yes.
Factory, is it your choice, or do the client input?
Clients choose, although I definitely help them kind of guide, but it's based on like my recommendation for where I would send them would be based on where they're located is the first thing. So I try to get people matched locally if I can and if it's feasible, especially if I can keep them in Chicago. That's always a plus. I love to support like other Chicago businesses. I also base it on what quantity they're making, because some factories will have a minimum that are higher than others. So there might be a small factory that will do a dozen or even less. But a lot of factories want you to make 100 or 200 or 500 of a garment. And yes, you can like break it down by sizes and things, but if you are starting out and you can't afford to make 500 dresses, or you're not sure that you can sell 500 dresses, obviously that's not a good idea.
Right.
So I try to kind of match make someone between what their needs are, what their budget and goals, sales goals are, and then match them with the appropriate factory. And then we kind of interview and make sure, okay, like we're doing a bar tack. Do you have a bar tack machine? We need a zigzag for this style. Do you have a zigzag machine? Because each factory, their machines or their specialties might also be a little different. Some will specialize in knits and activewear, swimwear maybe. Others are really good with like silks, finer dresses, things like that, bridal. And others really want to stick with like more wovens, so they might be doing pants and blazers and like a woven dress, something like that. So you find out like after working especially for many years, I have like some go-tos, like this one's great for this type of garment and I know their minimum, so it's a matter of like introducing the client, making sure they're happy with that relationship, and setting them on that right path. Yes.
Have you ever had a project that was difficult to complete?
Many. Many. I'd say like recently, some of the more challenging ones, I worked on a women's tactical pant. So it was made for 2 women who were in the Army and wanted to kind of redesign pants made for women that still have like pockets and functional elements. And I want to say the prototype for that took close to 20 hours just for a pair of pants, because it was so many pockets and top stitching and probably like 30 pattern pieces, and it was a really long process. We're also testing like different ways to put it together, so it was probably one of the more challenging garments. But then at the end, it's also really rewarding to know like all that work that goes into it, and that you're going to be helping people have a better fit and have a functional garment that is good for them. So that's probably one of my most challenging, outside of maybe like wedding dresses or another big one, just because there's lots of interior like structure and boning, inside corsets and things like that sometimes, and also dealing with like laces and beads and things like that. So I don't do a ton of bridal. I kind of stick more with like ready to wear, denim, activewear, things like that for the most part. Cool, I'll show you some more stuff. So some things are again, seemingly simple, as kind of like a button-down poncho. And the basic design was just that he wanted a kind of curved hem, but we had to figure out how to incorporate, you see there's a little buttonhole on each side here. He wanted to design it where you could belt without like belting the entire like look, to kind of have that like winged effect when you are wearing it, but also highlight the waist. So again, like a very kind of simple, it's kind of based on obviously a button down top, but just reimagined in a different way. And then also determining how to finish so there's still like an armhole that looks really clean and nice. I've had customers who are selling in like Neiman Marcus Last Call and Nordstrom, and she started from nothing and just made phone calls to the right people and got her stuff in front of the right people and has kind of exploded. And then I have other people who might try it out for a couple seasons. Maybe they have some sales. It's not like they're totally unsuccessful, but they fizzle out for whatever the reason, if they get burned out or just aren't selling enough, things like that. So, I mean, starting any kind of business obviously is a risk, but again, that's why I feel like I have like very good job security, because I can work with multiple brands and not have to worry if one closes that I'm out of a job, because I still have like 5 or 6 other brands that I might be working with.
So, I'm going back to what you just said about, you said you have someone that, just have grown up and they've talked to the right people.
Yes.
So, throughout your career, how do you feel that your communication skills have helped you propel and grow in your career?
I would say, communication obviously is super important, whether that's face-to-face with people, whether that's in emails and just communicating your ideas. A lot of people I meet through events as well. I strongly encourage you to get involved in like organizations where they have like networking events, or you're meeting other professionals, whether they're in your industry or not. I think it's good to connect with other people. So 2 organizations that I've been really involved with in Chicago are AIBI, which is the Apparel Industry Board of Illinois. Early in my career, they hosted lots of kind of speed networking events where you would go and like meet 10 people, but you'd have 2 minutes with each person and kind of really quickly have to tell them what you do, hear what they do. I met a lot of designers, fabric reps where they like sell fabric, and different people that not only are a good connection or like forming friendships and business relationships with themselves, but then you're kind of accessing their broader network as well. Another one is Fashion Group International, which I used to be the director of for the Chicago chapter for 2 years. I was on the board for 6 years, and basically it's planning like events. So we did lots of professional events where we'd have speakers or panels, and you get to learn about different facets of the industry, whether it was interior design, fashion design, marketing, business, things like that. And I got to meet a ton of people, and I'm still involved with both organizations. So, meeting people, and if someone hears about a project and you're the first person on their mind, that's a really great way to, keep your job prospects open. And I found it to be really great. So, but communicating in general, whether it's going to a conference, whether you're just talking to people, maintaining a relationship with your current clients and also with past clients, I think is really important too. I like to reach out to people if you're ever having a lull in work, and you might just reach out and say, hey, how's it going? Like, do you have projects or do you have anything in mind for the future? They might have been thinking about you already, or thinking about a project that they want to start but haven't, actually gone forward to do. So you popping up in their inbox or in their text is gonna, make them think, oh yeah, actually I do want to work on this dress or something like that. So being resourceful, checking in on people, I think is really important to do. Yes.
Have any of your clients actually like modeling their clothes?
A few. I try not to, because it's hard for me to like both fit model and evaluate the pattern at the same time. It's kind of difficult to like pin on yourself, obviously. But yes, I've had to do that a few times, or usually have a partner who's fitting it on me if I turn into the brand fit model. Or sometimes I'll try on something in addition to whoever is the real fit model, just to see like, how is this fitting, and you can tell certain things wearing it versus seeing it a little bit differently. Early on, I walked in a couple of like fashion shows. I wouldn't say that's like anything I'm not a model. So it's not something I would like ever pursue as a career path necessarily, but had fun doing it, yeah. Yes. Any brands I would like to work with? I don't know if I have like particular ones. I really enjoyed working with Nike on like the tailoring thing. I think that'd be cool to work with them on the design aspect. I've met people who, because they do hire both in-house and like freelance designers, so I think that would be a cool thing to work for them. I really like working with small brands though. That's kind of my bread and butter, is local and small brands, and local not just to Chicago, but kind of the Midwest in general. I've worked on, anything from dresses, jackets. I've even helped people with hats, like baseball caps. I have a factory in New Jersey that I work with, and they sew the hat, but I can like help kind of customize the pattern or put together a tech pack so that whatever fabric the customer wants to use, or if they want to put their own embroidery or their own label on the hat and have it kind of made for them, for their brand, I can put that together all in the tech pack visually, so they know what snapback color to use, what inside sweatband color to use, and customizing with the client's fabric.
Doing Patternmaker for a long time, it's still for us just like difficult. So like, what part is like most difficult for you?
The part that's most difficult, I'd say anytime I'm working with a new client, it is always a little bit difficult in the beginning to establish like what is their fit, because each client has kind of their own fit standard. Your brand is going to be different from your brand in